All right, y'all wanted story time about Alec Murdaugh, my connection to him? Here you go. This is allegedly and for entertainment purposes only. So if you didn't know, my name's Christian. I served 2 years at Leith Correctional Facility in Greenwood, South Carolina from the years 2011 and 2012 for 54 counts of obtaining a controlled substance by fraud in violation of drug distribution law across 3 counties in upstate South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, and Anderson, in which I was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Basically, all of that just to say I wrote a bunch of fake prescriptions. So I wrote the prescriptions for 30 milligram or 15 milligram roxycodones. That was really what was popular at the time and also what I was addicted to. It's also what other people higher up were addicted to. So I apparently had a knack for these fake prescriptions. And while I was only convicted of 54 and charged with 54, over 450 fraudulent prescriptions were dropped or ran together. And if you've ever been, really far in addiction, most people know there's only very few ways to support your addiction. One of those ways is to become an unlicensed street pharmacist. So one of the things that you learn very early on in unlicensed street pharmacy school is that you don't shit where you sleep, okay? So I had some friends down in Georgetown, South Carolina. And they became the intermediary between myself and my patients. But every once in a while, my really whiny patients would want to see me and work out a deal because they were broke, but they were expecting money. It's South Carolina. It's a small state. Back then, I was one of the only people that could obtain the kind of pharmaceuticals that certain people were searching for. So yeah, this went on until 2011 when I finally turned myself in after I had ran from drug court. Because originally I got sentenced to drug court, but then ran from drug court, was on the run from drug court, and that's when I went to actually stay in Georgetown. And so for a little over 2 months, I lived in Georgetown, Hampton, that area, pursuing my dreams of being an unlicensed street pharmacist. I probably wouldn't be here if I hadn't got caught, if I hadn't gone to prison, if I hadn't moved out of state. But I never in a million years imagined that something like this would happen. But at the same time, not surprised. None of us were surprised when the conviction got overturned. We know how it works in South Carolina, and unless you've been through the criminal justice system in South Carolina, you truly don't know just how corrupt it is. In South Carolina, there's one law school, and pretty much every judge and lawyer in South Carolina went to the same law school, USC. But the connections don't quite stop there. If you don't know, I was raised by my grandparents. My grandfather, his name was Don Owens, and my grandfather was my everything, and I was his everything. My grandfather was a graphic designer and an illustrator, and my grandfather's best friend was Kendall Few. Kendall Few was a big-time trial lawyer in Greenville, South Carolina, and in 1993, Kendall Few decided to write a book called Trial by Jury. And my grandfather was the graphic designer and the illustrator for Trial by Jury. So Kendall Few had a son. Anybody want to guess what his son's name was? John Few. Kendall would throw these amazing parties at his estate. He had hundreds of acres on Brushy Creek Road in Greer. Beautiful, beautiful house. And these parties were just like political hotspots. I actually first met Lindsey Graham and Strom Thurmond when I was 11 years old at one of Kendall Few's parties. I actually called Lindsey Graham a weirdo, ran away, and then I got in trouble. But I was incredibly close with John Few. John Few would get out there. He loved to play basketball, and he was pretty good at it, and I was a basketball player. And he would get out there and he would play basketball with me. And Kendall would do these basketball tournaments at his parties where he'd give away trophies. And John would always give me a trophy for playing, and I'd always be on John's team. I was so close to John Few that I called him Uncle John. And John was going to pay for my entire law school if I decided to go to law school. Because at one point I said I wanted to be a lawyer when I was like 12 years old. And he absolutely said he was going to pay for my law school, and he would have if I had gone to law school. But instead, I went to prison. Anyway, John Few became a judge in Greenville County, and then he went on to the South Carolina Supreme Court. And he is, in fact, one of the 5 Supreme Court justices that overturned Alec Murdaugh's conviction. Anyway, I will be going live again tonight, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you guys have any more questions, you guys can come into the live, ask them, or you can drop a question in the comments. Thank you guys for tuning in, and as always, have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon. And this video is allegedly and for entertainment purposes only.